Well, welcome to another episode of the Esports Classroom Podcast, where we're just talking to esports coaches, both at the high school and college level, and those connected to esports, just to share out what everybody's doing, what everybody's learning, just as a way for everybody to learn together. So this week, we're going to be looking at a brand new program. So, Christian, I'm going to let you introduce yourself. Where are you from? And tell us a little bit about your school district.
Yeah, so my name's Christian Darnold. I'm the DEC and head coach for all of esports at Janesville Consolidated School District. I'm originally from Waverly, Iowa, and I always told people that I went to a small high school in Iowa until I finally went to Janesville, and a little bit smaller than that. Janesville's a small town nestled right between Waverly, Iowa, and Cedar Falls, Iowa. In total, we have about 450 students pre-K through 12th grade. So if I had to guess, I would guess we're one of the smaller schools that does esports in Iowa, but I'm not entirely sure about that. We're in our first year of programs, like I kind of said already. We're playing Rainbow Six Siege right now. I've had more success so far than I expected, so that's been great to see, and hopefully to ride that out through state.
Yeah, we had Isaac Voss from Mount Air on a little bit before, but they had more kids than you, and that is a small district. But what I've been finding out is that a lot of the small districts are having almost as much interest as the larger districts in esports. Like sometimes just as
Mhm.
many kids are going out. So how did you guys get started? I mean, it's a brand new program. You guys are doing your first season this fall. So what was last year like?
Yeah, so the way that it kind of got started was I was in a meeting on with my AD, Micah Monroe, here at Janesville, and we were just kind of talking about. I wasn't even a coach yet, so I've never coached anything before now. And we to finish talking, and at one point he talked about how the AD and then Levi from North Tama was talking to him, who he's pretty close to, and he mentioned how having an esports team would be pretty cool. Going forward, then a couple months later, I emailed him and our superintendent and goes like, "Hey, if this is something that we're actually interested in, let me know." And then, probably 5 minutes later, Mr. Monroe busts in my door. He's like, "Are you serious? Are you actually willing to coach this?" And I was like, yeah." And you know what? To be honest, I didn't really know exactly what I was signing myself up for, but I knew that it was going to be a great opportunity for some of our kids, so we kind of went with that. We started signups. I didn't know how many kids were going to sign up, but we ended up getting enough. And after a bunch of school board meetings, different things like that, we finally became an established team. And it took a while, but we got there, and it all went out well. And yeah, like you said, we're in our first year, and it's going pretty well so far.
So um obviously Rainbow Six is your first game of that. And you
Yeah.
guys are doing really well on that too. I see 6-1. You got a direct shot to state next week.
Yep.
Um, So luckily, hopefully this comes out the week of state. Hopefully you do well. Good luck. My Smash team lost last night, so we are done with our fall season. Whole couple like 2 days of off season before we start Monday's practice for winter season. I don't think a lot of people understand. There is not a lot of off season for
No,
esports.
it's straight into it.
So why did you choose Rainbow Six as your first title versus maybe like Smash, which is another title offered this fall?
So for me, one, it was because it was the game that my kids at Janesville were the most interested in playing. I put out kind of an interest form and it was like, hey, these are the couple games that are offered. Which ones would the most amount of kids be interested in? And they were really interested in Siege. We had about 9 kids sign up that they were interested in Siege, 9 through 12, whereas only like 1 or 2 kids were interested in Smash Bros. And we were, since it's our first year, we're kind of in that probation period. We're only allowed to do one title per
Yep.
season. So we decided that we were going to do Rainbow. Addition to that, I was actually part of the UNI Panther esports team while I was at UNI. Unfortunately, we only ever had 4 people to do a Rainbow Six team at UNI, and as I'm sure you're all aware, you need 5 people. So we never actively competed, but we still did the practices. We still grew as a team. So I went in with a decent, what I thought was a lot of Siege knowledge, and some of these 14, 15, 16-year-old
Yep.
kids are completely outstaging me with what they know about the game, which has been great to see. But yeah.
I think it's rare to find a coach who knows more than the kids sometimes at the games because the kids are playing so much more than the coaches can. Because, well, we're adults and we have, adult like duties. That means we don't get to have fun to play video games all the time. Um,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, I thought I knew a lot about the game until I met some of these kids, and they're teaching me every single day.
yep.
So it's been great to see.
So you went from you played in college and now you're coaching. So what skills have been most important for you to kind of carry over to that coaching realm when you're working with the kids, or at least from your perspective, you knew you had to talk about with them?
So one of the couple of things that we've been like really trying to like hammer down was like how to like properly communicate when playing Siege. So like I had like 9 kids who have all played Siege in the past. None of them were like brand new to the game, but none of them have like played together and like in a cohesive team. So like we played the first game, we played like a quick match, and they were like yelling over the top of each other, screaming. And so honestly, we spent a couple days just like learning how to talk to each other in like a
Yep.
cohesive way. Additionally, one of the things that I carried over was like some of the drills that we did at UNI that were helpful for the team and helping us grow. So those were also like some of the things that we did, which carried us over into helping Janesville get a little bit better, and it's been going on pretty well.
Yeah, that communication aspect is huge.
Yeah, for
Kids need
sure.
to learn they're not just playing in their basement, right? They're
Hmm.
part of a team environment, um, and they can't play the way they play with random people online. And having played with random people online in many games, we know how they kind of talk.
Oh
So
yeah,
that communication
absolutely.
is such an important aspect. Um, so Rainbow Six, obviously, you guys are 6-1.
Mhm.
So what has been like kind of like have you guys had many challenges this year? Has your students just kind of come out and just fired up all the way, or
Mhm.
kind of how'd the season go for you?
So one of the big like I've told the kids this, one of the reasons why I think we're doing so well is because like every day we have an hour long practice and immediately we shut down the PCs and they go, all right, who's popping on when we get home? And then they go home
Yep.
and they play like 2, 3 hours more at home. So while we only have like an hour of like organized play time, they're really playing like 2, 3, 4 hours a day sometimes, depending on what kid. Um, we have had some kids who have had problems with like uh balancing other athletics. So like I have kids that are like on the basketball team, the football
Yep.
team, wrestling. I also have t kids like in the play, in jazz band, in all this other stuff. So it's been kind of a scheduling nightmare for some of my kids, we'll say. Janesville has a great problem where a lot of our kids are overly involved. So I think of all of my like 9 kids, only like one of them isn't involved in anything else. So I've had to spend quite a bit of time like doing that balancing act of okay, so football's here, jazz band is here, practice, and when can we do like that? So that's been something that sound a bit. And then also just like sounds bad like trying to convince some of my kids that we're in teams. We're a team and we're cohesion and we're trying to create a team that is meant to represent the school and represents who we are as a team.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the small school, and that's a big thing, is that you don't have a lot of kids to pick from, and that's the same for every group you have, right?
Hmm.
Counteract with larger schools, which tend to have more activities maybe per student, just because there's more opportunities. So the kids are spread out a little bit more. But I
Hmm.
think that is a big challenge of kids being involved. Now, I know like winter season last year for us, I had kids who were doing soccer, but luckily it did not happen at the same time as our winter game. So lucky enough, they're
Sure.
playing Rocket League, which is just car soccer. So, you know, real
Yeah.
soccer, car soccer, it's all the same thing. Um, so let's talk. One thing to talk about, your kids are playing outside of school. So one question I've been asking everybody, and I think I need to ask a little more. So, like, how are your kids are using Discord then with your students outside of school? Or are they just finding their own way to connect? Or using, how are you communicating that?
Yeah, so I had all my kids create like a school Discord. So each
Yep.
one of them gets like an assigned email through the school. I had all of them make a Discord through the school. And that way, actually, I can kind of see and track who's playing at home because I get the little pop-up notifications. And that gives me a little bit of additional information about
Yep.
who's spending extra time practicing. And that can be good when it comes to like starting roster spots.
Yeah. Have you had any pushback on kids using Discord at school? Because I know there are some schools that have looked at banning and blocking Discord because of some of the communication, like misuse by some people causes
Yeah.
other people to lose access, right?
Sure. So I've had to talk to a couple kids who are like they're sitting in math class and they're typing in the Discord, and I
Yep.
have to talk to them and be like, "Hey guys, this isn't what this is for. This is meant to be like a communication tool. If this continues, we're gonna have to figure something else out." And most of my kids have been pretty darn receptive to that. Kid who he did end up having to lose Discord privileges for a while, but otherwise, almost every other kid has been really good about understanding that this is a that's a school thing, and I'm not supposed to be on this while I'm in school, and I can get
Yep.
this taken away. So it's kind of the whole
That's the
thing of
important
it
thing.
happened to one kid, and then everyone else saw it, and nobody else is going to want to do it now.
Yep. Yeah, it's important. Like, I know that you're always kind of battling that view from other teachers too. Like, how
Hmm.
they may view esports. We don't want other teachers to think this is a bad thing for them. It's a good thing. So we don't want them, messing around in other classes and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah, we've absolutely had like some of that. Like some teachers definitely don't take us as seriously as some of the
Yep.
other athletics. So I always tell my kids you have to be better than a lot of the other athletes because you're not gonna you're already seen as lower to some of them, and you have to be better to put yourself at the same level as them.
Now, while we're getting ready for the podcast tonight, I did look up, I found on the Janesville school site a nice little article about launching the new esports team. You guys had a good fundraiser to kind of get going, right?
Hmm.
Silent auction. I think that's
Yeah.
awesome. And I would kind of wish that there because you had Iowa Irish Fest. I would have bought stuff for that. I mean, an
Yeah.
Urban Pie, big fan of that too. And of course, Ray Gun. So that's you're good that you had that kind of early on because that monetary support helps you buy equipment, right? So,
Hmm.
um, how have you been able to set up a lab and stuff like that, or how many devices do you guys have on hand right now?
So we have six full setups and two switches. The plan is to have a Mario Kart team once the spring comes around, if possible. We're kind of debating about whether we want to do Mario Kart or Valorant. So I
Hmm.
decided to go ahead and buy switches anyway. I am incredibly lucky and incredibly you're probably not going to hear this very often, but the school actually gave us a lot of the funding that we need. We didn't have to fundraise a lot of the stuff. I don't remember exactly where the money came from, but they were able to move money around between like athletics and like some tech grants and different
Yep.
things like that. To where the fundraising stuff, we were actually the money that we got from that was actually able to go towards upgrading things. So I came up with a budget towards like very base model, like a very base model monitor, a very base model pre-built computer. And
Yep.
then through like the silent auction and the booster club and different things like that, we are able to upgrade a bunch of it. So we are incredibly lucky that we have a very good setup with some great computers and different things like that. And I think a big part of that comes from a lot of support that we have in the administration at the school, which is really great to see.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, that is not always common that the school district's going to put forward money. It typically is a lot of coaches
Mhm.
having to fundraise themselves and get things going. Kind of been my problem I've been dealing with. Well, it's great that we built a brand new high school and had all these computers. I have a great computer lab, but it's not my esports lab. It's the AutoCAD lab. It's the business lab. And then after school, we play video games. Um, we're
Yeah.
just currently doing our big fundraiser right now, and I'm always measuring in terms of Nintendo Switch 2 consoles. So we're 1 1/3 Nintendo Switch 2 consoles in so far in the fundraising,
Mhm.
just because that I'm already trying to look ahead to that next purchase. Well, we're playing Mario Kart 8 in the spring. It might be Mario Kart World next year. Even if it is just Mario Kart 8 in the spring, I have the Nintendo Switch 2 places as well.
Yeah,
So, and
for sure.
that may be something like I'm going to guess you probably got Switch 1 consoles. So,
We do.
yep.
That's definitely something that we're gonna have to look into. And then
Yep.
kind of piggybacking off what you said, we actually share a room with Title One reading every single
Oh,
day.
okay.
So we do before and after school in the esports lab, and then during the
Yep.
day there's Title One reading kids in there all day. So yeah, we definitely didn't get our own space, which is fine. Janesville is, like I said, a very small school, very
Yep.
compact. So we were able to find it's an old computer lab. So that's where we had Ethernet ports, extra electrical cablings, different things like that. So we're like I said, we were pretty lucky to be able to find that area, but it's definitely not just ours.
Yep. And I think you find that a lot of places. We just find a space that makes do, and it's probably a dual purpose. At Nevada, our computers were set up when what pretty much was a big office space.
Hmm.
And really, it got really warm when all the kids were in there playing video games. And maybe I put a big fan in the door to, you know, lower the temperature and other
For
things.
sure.
Um, so what have been some of the wins you've had so far? Like those things that you can share out to really say, hey, this is why we're going to keep going. This is why you should join esports. This is
Mhm.
why we should allow this to happen.
Yeah, so a couple of the big things that we've had is I've seen a large amount of growth in our team since the beginning of this season. Before the season even started, we scrimmaged against Muscatine, who does very well at the 2A
Mhm.
level, and they kicked our butts, to be honest.
Yep.
They did not go well. We like 7-2, 7-0 got destroyed. And over the course of the year, I really do think we've improved. Like I don't think we maybe beat Muscatine, but I think we'd have a much more higher chance than that. Additionally, I have two seniors on my roster this year, and both of them have been in contact with college scouts so far, or college recruits. So that's been great to see.
Yep.
Hoping one of them either ends up at Buena Vista or Marshalltown Community College. But we'll see. Both of them have been in contact with both of those schools pretty heavily, so that's been really nice to see. One of them is even talking to Wartburg, to possibly play Rocket League. We'll see how that season goes for him, though. And then also, we were pretty lucky to have one of our seniors this year ended up first in the state in assists for Rainbow. So that was pretty cool. It was a good achievement for him, and we were able to kind of use that as a thing to get other people interested in because they go, oh, wow, this person's having a lot of success. Maybe that's something that could happen. So that was really great to see.
Yep. And those are great wins to have because you're going to keep your program moving forward. One
Hmm.
thing I would highly suggest if you do have kids signing with colleges, do the signing day, take the pictures. Like I know
Yeah.
all the other sports get to do that too, but the times we will do it for esports, it's been fun. I mean, just because again, you talk about that credibility with other teachers and stuff like that, that really brings it home. Like fact that I keep telling people like, yeah, there are tons of scholarship opportunities out there for kids to play esports at college. And they're like,
Hmm.
really? I'm like, yeah. Like I'm keeping a list of all
Yep.
my former students who have gotten offers or are playing at the collegiate level. So I can always point out to them like, hey, here's what's going on.
Yeah, I have a kid that wasn't probably planning on going to college at all, and now that he's
Yep.
getting talked to do by colleges, he's really considering it because it's maybe more financially plausible for him.
Yeah, and that is a big thing. Now, getting them in the door to college, that's a great thing. Hopefully, the esports team will keep them in college too, because there's a lot of times if think about sport at home, or maybe their parents haven't had that history of going to college as well. And I've seen that a lot with some of our students. Yeah, keep them in that method, and sometimes having esports is a way to keep them not just in school and high school, but to keep them going to college.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an extra thing to really drive them through and keep them in and make force them to keep their academics up because then if their
Yep.
academics slip, they can't do esports, which hopefully they're enjoying.
So, how are your kids feeling about going to play at state next week? I mean, because you're going in person
Yeah.
in down to Marshalltown. It's a great place to go. The Orpheum Theater is set up well. Get there early, get logged in. Definitely don't forget your keyboards and mice and your
Yeah.
headsets. Make sure everything works. Make sure they can log into their accounts.
Yeah, so honestly, the thing that they're most worried about is waking up early. They're gonna have
Yep.
to wake up early, and a bunch of high schoolers aren't gonna love that. But honestly, there is some
Well,
nerves there. They haven't played in person a lot, and some of our
mm-hmm.
team is a stereotypical gamer who doesn't do
Yep.
well in front of a bunch of people. So there's a little bit worry about that in person factor. It's something that we haven't done before, obviously, so it's going to be a big learning curve. But I have confidence in the team that we're going to be able to do well. And goals top three, goals top
Yep.
three. I keep telling the kids, I want hardware to bring home. So we'll see. We'll see if it ends up being that way. And I think that kind of ties into the credibility thing that we
Yep.
talked a little bit for sure.
Yeah, I liked it. A couple years ago, we used to get the banners when we got to
Yeah.
the state, but they didn't do that last year. I was okay with that. Luckily, we brought home hardware with the Rocket League State Championship. Yeah, I mean, the good thing about it, telling your kids that they're going to be playing with other gamers. Okay, these are the kids you played online. They're just in there. Some of them are going to be noisier than you.
Yeah.
Some of them are definitely going to be maybe trying to intimidate with that. But you get there early, and gamers are not great at waking up in the morning. I will definitely tell you that. So like I made sure to have their phone numbers on hand, and I'm like, hey, I'm here. I always would tell them like, I know when we need to leave by. No, I want you there 15 minutes before that. And I don't tell them about my real time. I always tell them
Yep.
15 minutes before. Because it's going to be a bit of a drive. I mean, you're north of Cedar Falls. You got to go all the way down to Marshalltown.
Yep. A little
So
over
it's
an
going to be,
hour. So it's not
yeah.
horrible, but we'll make it.
Yeah. At least you don't have to get a hotel room the night before because that's a whole I'm not a big fan of overnights with high school kids. I just don't trust them.
Yeah,
And
that's
I've been
fair.
doing this for too long. Uh, so that's gonna be a great experience for you guys. You get to state next week. So already, I guess, kind of talked before that there's no real off season for us, right? So you're looking
Mhm.
ahead to winter season. So this is gonna be your second season,
Yep.
Rocket League and Overwatch. Um,
Yeah.
have
So
you
we've
picked
already.
one? I mean, because I think really only probation is after the first season, or did they change that?
Yep,
So
I
I mean,
think it's just for
because
the very first
yep,
season. I was talking to kids, and it sounds like we're probably just gonna do Rocket League. We don't have a ton of
yeah,
interest at school in
yeah,
Overwatch. I tried to push some of the kids to do it. It just didn't seem like they were particularly interested in. And additionally, like Smite is also offered, I believe, in the
yep.
winter, and had zero kids interested in that
Oh yeah,
one. So just not a big game in Janesville, I guess. But we're gonna have a Rocket League, and this season's gonna be even more odd because while I only had like one or two kids in football, like half my team's in basketball.
oh
So
yeah,
yeah, we're gonna really have to work around that, and I'm really gonna have to work with the basketball coach, and hopefully kids aren't gonna have to choose between one or the other. I was able to
yep.
work out pretty well with football, but we'll have to see how basketball goes for sure.
And a lot of times it does depend on that relationship with the other coach.
Yep.
For me, it's come up with like bowling. I had my kid in the senior year. He wanted to do bowling, but also play Rocket League. So I had to make him decide because he was thinking like, can I do Overwatch, Rocket League, and bowling? I'm like, no, you can't because I
Yeah.
mean, there's only so many days after school, and Tuesday and Thursday are matches. Then, luckily, he chose Rocket League because I thought that was the best chance we had at state, and we did. So that'll be good. I mean, Rocket League is a great game there, especially looking at the equipment you guys have. I mean, you can easily have two sets of three if you have that going at once.
Yeah. Yep,
No
for sure.
problem. Although I will say the Nintendo Switch can work for Rocket League.
Okay.
The kids won't believe it, but it can work. It's not always my favorite way of playing it, but I've had to do that before just because we had a PC drop down one day during practice and I had to throw the Switch on. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play Rocket League because why not play it with the Switch?
Sure. You know what? I never really considered playing it on the Switch, but I guess it could. Yeah, it would work
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
not gonna look pretty, but it'll work. Maybe it looks better on the Switch too. We'll never see that.
Yeah.
So kind of looking at we kind of talked up a lot of topics. Is there anything else you want to say about your team or anything you've really took away from this season? Because again, you're early on in the career, which is great.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you get to keep coaching for a long time.
Yeah, the main reason why, and I think you've touch base on this is a lot of other schools that you've talked to before is the main reason why we started an esports team wasn't because I was like super passionate about esports. It was to get more kids involved.
Yep.
And we were able to get some of those additional kids involved who just weren't part of a team anymore. And now they're able to get that camaraderie. And that's what I would really kind of try to tell other schools is I try to do esports because it gets a whole different level of students who
Yep.
aren't involved in other athletics or other plays or anything else to be involved in something in the school for sure.
And it's such an easy thing to get involved in because most kids have access to a video game system at home. I mean, that's what we see.
Yep, for
Um,
sure.
and it's a lot easier to get involved in esports than it is other sports nowadays. And I say that from a parent perspective too.
Hmm.
Um, Finding out how expensive other sports are. I'm just glad to be done with soccer. So I'm starting to end with a fun last question. So what video game are you playing now? And what's your favorite video game of all time?
So right now I'm replaying Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm a big Nintendo, like big
Yep.
into Nintendo. I did, and I have to say currently playing through the DLC for Donkey Kong Bonanza, so that's been really fun. And favorite game of all time, at least hours wise, is by far Super Mario Odyssey. I used to do a lot of speed running with Super Mario Odyssey on any percent, so played thousands of hours of Super Mario Odyssey for sure. So I gotta say probably that.
Yep. And I think they just dropped the trailer today for that movie.
I did.
Yeah.
Have to see. I don't know.
Yeah. Video game movies, always a hit or miss. So,
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
so thank you again, Christian, for being on.
Yep.
Another great episode of Esports Classroom Podcast. So hopefully you're listening or watching. Keep tuned for some other episodes. So thanks.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks for having me.